Hello, this is the Information Literacy Workshop for International American University. My name is Catherine Hernandez, and I am the librarian for the university. The first thing I'd like to discuss is what information literacy actually is. Here we have two different definitions. The first one is by the Association of College and Research Libraries, and this states, information literacy is the set of integrated abilities encompassing the reflective discovery of information, the understanding of how information is produced and valued, and the use of information in creating new knowledge and participating ethically in communities of learning. The second definition is by the American Library Association. And this states, information literacy is a set of abilities requiring individuals to recognize when information is needed and have the ability to locate, evaluate, and use effectively the needed information. I would like to discuss different aspects of information literacy. So there's various types of literacy that you will need to have within your toolbox of skills in order to achieve true information literacy. And this involves different instruments, resources, social information structure, and research. So instrument literacy refers to the ability to use print and digital materials. So you will need to know how to use different types of print materials and where to find them, as well as digital materials. Resource literacy is the ability to know what type of format to use to answer a question and know how to access it. So when they discuss format, they might mean text, video, podcast. There's various formats that can be used, as well as file formats when you're getting into the digital realm. Social information structure is the knowledge of how information is produced, including scholarly publications, and this is particularly important for those who will be publishing their dissertations, and how these fit into various social structures. And then you need to know how to do research. It's the ability to use research tools, including digital and topic-specific databases. And we will get more into this very soon. Information literacy is not just for the university. You will be using these skills throughout the rest of your life. You will create lifelong competencies over time with new digital databases coming out and new technologies that are emerging. You're going to have to keep learning how to use all of these new instruments in order to access the information that you need. This also helps you in your professional life. Again, you will need to know how to use all of these different things as they develop. And information literacy helps you in your personal life as well. I know that if I've ever needed to find information for myself, for instance, tax information for my income taxes, I've been able to look that information up by going to the IRS website. All right, let's discuss the research process here. So you must be able to define and articulate the need for information. That's just step one, having the thought of needing information and what kind of information you need. All right, you identify different types and formats of potential sources for information. I say potential here because you have to get sources from authoritative sources. These are authoritative sources are experts in the fields that they cover. So you want to get information from peer-reviewed articles, and you want to get information from well-respected publishers, such as Springer or Prentice Hall. You also have to consider the costs and benefits of acquiring the information needed. For example, what they're referring to as costs is that a lot of information is free, but if you want to get more scholarly articles about a topic that you are researching, you're going to have to go deep web. You can do that here on our databases in the library on Learn, but there's also outside ones all over the place that you would have to pay for. So you have to decide what you are willing to spend for the information you need. You must also reevaluate the nature and extent of the nature you need. Nature and extent. What they mean here is that a very broad topic, if you're doing research on a very broad topic, it's going to have tons of information sources on it. And then from these information sources, you're going to have to narrow down how much of those actual information sources you are actually going to use. On the other hand, if you are researching a very narrow topic, there will be fewer information sources on those. So you will have to do extra research to find information about those narrow topics. So you will also have to do preliminary reconnaissance using a search engine. Okay, a better understanding of the topic leads to more targeted queries. Now, what they mean is you just start exploring any search engine. Google, there's various search engines actually, but they're referring to as something more open like Google, and looking at all of the aspects of the topic that you want to do research on. That way you can use those search terms that you're seeing over and over and over, getting tied to the topic that you're looking at. You can start seeing that a pattern of different subjects that are within that specific topic, and then you can use have more targeted queries. Okay, now we're going to start talking about business information literacy competencies. Competency 1, disciplinary research. Disciplinary research entails investigating the existing knowledge within business-related disciplines, as well as engaging in research that advances knowledge within such disciplines. RUSA 2019. Okay, so you will have to thoroughly review scholarly and or practitioner literature. Okay, so it's not just scholarly literature that you should be looking for. You should also be looking for literature put out by the actual business practitioners, the entrepreneurs. And there is information that they do put out, usually on their websites. Keep up with new trends in whatever field that you are researching. Understand that inaccessible information could negatively affect research or goals, and there is some information that is just not accessible to the public. There's no database you can get on. It's just not put out. Understand technology used to access business-related information. And there are various technologies that you could use. Most specifically, today we'll be discussing open information sources. You can just look it up on the internet. Conduct original research according to the framework of prescribed protocols. Now, this is mostly for the doctoral students who will be doing original research. And then you publish your research through scholarly venues. And this is also for the doctoral students. So in competency 2, you will have to do company and organization research. So this includes information about companies, but it's not uniform. Not all companies will have the same amount of information. And examples of aspects of why a company has certain information out there is dominated by characteristics such as domestic versus foreign. Usually, a domestic company will have more information available than a foreign company. Private versus public. Public will have more information than private. Small versus large. Large will have more information. Subsidiary versus parent. Of course, the parent will have more information. And for-profit versus nonprofit. That depends. It depends on the company itself. And so these dictate how much information is available. So you have to determine the overall performance of an organization financially, structurally, its ownership, financing history, operations, strategy, transactions, developments, and industry status. And of course, this depends on what information you can access. So this is the things that you want to look for when you are researching an organization or company. You want to look for financial statements, data showing its performance in investment and trading markets, industry performance ratios, credit ratings, financial performance of similar businesses, government filings, such as the annual report for a public company, a 10K U.S. stock exchange, a foreign public company traded in the U.S. stock exchange, which is a 20F, a report of an important event or corporation change of a public company, which is an 8K, a proxy statement on information about executives, board members, or issues shareholders can vote on. And you can actually see minutes for these issues that shareholders vote on in many of press releases that certain companies will put out. Here I have a screenshot of information that I looked up on Fortune magazine. Fortune gives out information about companies. And this is about CVS. It's a pharmacy, but also they sell other things there as well. And this is their company profile right here on Fortune magazine. And this is open to anybody. So here they have so much information provided. Country, where their headquarters, the industry they're in, who their CEO is. You can look up the CEO. Their website, what type of company they are, they're public, their ticker number, CVS, their revenues for this time of year, profits, their market value, and how many employees they even have. And then you can see their financials right here. How much in revenues, profits, assets, stockholder equity, and their profit ratios. There's also more information on there if you wanted to look on it. But I just wanted to give you a resource that you can look up top companies on in Fortune magazine. So I went over to the CVS website and I wanted to see what kinds of information they provided. At the top, you can see links for their investor story, their financial information, their newsroom, which is where you will likely be able to get information sent out to the press, events and presentations, their stock information, and their corporate information. And here I just clicked on financial information, and I was able to get access to links to a 5-year financial summary, their comprehensive financial history, their fixed income information, and their annual report archive. And looking at annual reports, past and present, will help you get a good idea of the performance of this company over time. Okay, so you will also want to look for a proxy statement when shareholder votes are necessary for acquisitions or mergers of a company, a notice of a company offering exempt securities, Form D, or the registration statement of a company offering securities on the U.S. exchange. Third-party content, such as news articles, analyst reports, reviews, ratings, and interviews. Third-party content being such as Fortune magazine or an interview with Harvard Business Review. Anything like that. That is third-party content. And media sent out by the company, such as social media posts, advertisements, earnings, conference calls. Only public companies let those out. Press releases and informative reports. Okay, so I went to the CVS website again, and I went to their News and Insights tab. And that's usually going to be about information that they send to everybody that they can. So it'll be an overview of their News and Insights, information about programs they offer, press releases that they send to the media, other news and media resources, topics, CVS Health Impact Dashboard, and links and information to stay informed about the company. All right, let's talk about competency 3, which is industry research. Eventually, you will have to research what a specific industry has to offer. So industries that have significant economic impacts and older, such as oil, you're going to have these more matured industries. They'll have more content available to research. And they usually are led by large organizations. Industries that have less economic impacts and are dominated by small business, for example, pet grooming, they'll have less information content available. You will get better research results by using industry codes, such as the North American Industry Classification System, NAICS, to search for information, and here is the link for that. And here I went to the NAICS Association. You can search by code, but you could also search by keyword, as presented here. I just wanted to give you guys a screenshot of what it looks like, and there's a lot of information on this particular website about specific industries. Here I have provided a multitude of links that you can use to find information about the overall state of an industry, because the U.S. government actually brings all this information together on various websites. So you can use the Economic Census, Annual Business Survey, Annual Capital Expenditure Survey, Annual Retail Trade Survey, Annual Survey of Entrepreneurs, Annual Survey of Manufacturers. So what should you do once you get this information? What you should do about it is synthesize the industry analyst reports, the industry forecast reports, industry size and share reports. Determine which companies are the most prominent in their industry. Estimate competing industry market share. For example, oil and gas versus renewable energy. Obviously, oil and gas has more market share. Renewable energy will have less information. If it is not a mature industry, such as ride sharing, that's pretty new, which has less content available, approximate the status and trends by using those of a competing industry that is more mature, such as taxi cabs. Understand factors and trends that affect industry change through news media, blogs, social media, trade and professional groups, and specialized content vendors. Competency 4 is market research, and we're first going to focus on the business to consumer research, B2C. Determine the populations for products or services that the organization wants to target. Also do primary research. Primary research meaning look for information straight from the business. That's primary. Remember, third party is different. Primary is the best research to get. Third party is from a magazine or an analyst. Aggregate household surveys to determine appropriate target populations. And some resources for these are, again, from the government. The Census, the Consumer Expenditure Survey, the American Time Use Survey, the American Housing Survey, and the American Community Survey. And in Competency 4, we also have business-to-business research. So you're going to research the characteristics of an entity using techniques described in Competencies 2 and 3, and then also do primary research about the businesses themselves. Competency 5 involves finance research. So you will want to use indexes such as the S&P 500, and that's online for anyone to see. You don't have to go to any deep web databases to find that. You're going to identify key performance data for investment trading markets, including stock markets, bond markets, currency markets, and derivative markets. Identify performance data for commodities and futures trading markets, including agriculture, energy, metals, etc. Identify performance data for discrete assets traded on investment and commodity markets, such as corporate stock, mutual funds, and corporate or government bonds. Competency 6 involves economic and regional research. So sources for regional and economic content can be found through multilateral partnerships such as intergovernmental and non-governmental organizations, as well as trading blocs. Understand that data is unlikely to be consistent due to the jurisdictional differences in data collection and reporting standards. Of course, each country has their own standards. Identify relevant economic indicators, which signify economic development and change in a region. Data may be a discrete indicator. For example, unemployment claims, building permits, and gross domestic product, or data for a composite index of multiple indicators. A website that you can get this information on is the World Trade Organization. Again, here, if you look at the website here, it says trade by region. And it does give you several overviews of trade by different regions, imports, exports, a variety of information in there. So when you are searching for information about regions, you're going to want to look for relevant social indicators, which signify human welfare development and change in a region. Data for social indicators may address a wide variety of topics, including adult literacy, life expectancy, income inequality, voter turnout, and water and air quality. Determine the financial performance for a region, and this could be municipal, state, or sovereign. If possible, determine the creditworthiness of a sovereign. To the extent possible, determine the trade flows of goods and services between trade regions. Identify, to the extent possible, foreign direct investment inflow or outflow activity between or among regions. Determine the current and forecasted business climate for a region, meaning the degree of risk for conducting business in or with the region, based on available content, including news reports, analytic reports, and indexes and ratings that benchmark the regions in a broader context for a given topic. Identify agreements, laws, and regulations for cross-border business. For Competency 7, you are going to do advertising research. And to understand an entity's marketing strategy, read up on their press releases. Remember when we looked at the CVS website and they had a tab for their press releases? A lot of companies will have that. Also look for earnings conference calls for only public companies, information and analytical reports, and social media posts. Find out what media platforms the entity is currently using and has used in the past. And if possible, find out the entity's advertising expenses and occurrence data. Determine consumers' methods of media consumption, and by extension, the optimal channels for advertising products or services based on available content. If content is unavailable, you must perform primary research. And sometimes this just involves actually calling members of the company. Competency 8, Accounting and Auditing Research. Often it helps to talk to an accounting or auditing expert to help you understand the protocols necessary. Understand that the type of entity you're researching will affect which types of accounting rules are practiced. Understand the entity's accounting standards and clarifying statements that explain those standards. Okay, so there are different accounting standards for companies that are not governmental, and then you have different standards for governmental organizations. So the accounting standards codification is the source for generally accepted accounting principles, which primarily apply to non-governmental entities, including public, private, and nonprofit entities. The codification is managed by the Financial Accounting Standards Board, the Securities and Exchange Commission, and the professional accounting community. The Governmental Accounting Standards Board codification is the source for accounting and financial reporting standards for U.S. state and local governments. The codification is managed by the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. International financial reporting standards primarily apply to public entities globally. IFRS standards are managed by the International Accounting Standards Board. Within accounting, you must understand relevant published statements about any underlying accounting concepts, understand an entity's published auditing standards and clarifying statements about those standards. Generally accepted auditing standards, codification, these are for private companies. Codification is managed by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, and here is the link for that. The Public Company Accounting Oversight Board standards public companies and brokers and dealers registered with the SEC. This is their link to their standards. Generally accepted government auditing standards, which is also called the Yellow Book, apply to U.S. government entities and entities that receive government awards and is managed by the U.S. Government Accountability Office, and this is their link. For international entities, the clarified standards comprised of the International Standards on Auditing and the International Standard on Quality Control is managed by the International Auditing and Assurance Standards Board, and this is their website. Competency 9 includes legal research. Often you can get help by speaking to experts in laws and regulations of the area you are researching. Remember, everything depends on the area because laws and regulations differ from every area, local, state, national. Understand that laws and regulations differ by jurisdiction, as noted before. Do a preliminary investigation of the jurisdiction's legal system to understand its structure within the realm of your research topic. Understand the laws enacted by the legislative body and the hierarchy of legislative bodies in the place of your research. Top-down legislative hierarchy in the U.S. is as follows. First is the U.S. Constitution. Under that are federal statutes that are passed by U.S. Congress and are put into the United States Code and are updated at the Federal Register, and here's its website. The Code of Federal Regulations, here's its website, and the list of CFR sections affected, here's its website. After that is state statutes that are passed by state legislators. And you must also research case laws as well as written judicial opinions. Just like all regular laws and regulations, tax research depends on the jurisdiction of where you are looking at the tax laws. So tax laws vary by jurisdiction and hierarchy. First, we have the federal tax law, and that is controlled by the Internal Revenue Service, and here's its website and its Code of Regulations. We have state law, and for this example I used California tax law, and this website shows you where all the California tax laws are. And then local, you can get Los Angeles tax law, which this website gives you the information about Los Angeles tax law. Thank you, and this is the end of the information literacy workshop for International American University. Again, I am the librarian, and my name is Catherine Hernandez. Please feel free to contact me anytime for any questions that you may have. Thank you.